Happy day, great people. Welcome to another episode of Snappa Speaks. This is where you love yourself, think for yourself, and grow yourself. Let's get right into this video. Okay, guys. So I have really been pondering over whether or not I was going to even discuss this matter, but I want to come from the perspective of really being able to love people, walk in a love walk, and pray for them. Many people, many content creators dropped some information and dropped, how their viewpoints on Wendy Williams and how now in her life, her health, she's dealing with severe health challenges. And I'm not quite sure if you watched the documentary, but I did. And it was really, I was saddened by it. I really was, because I ain't even gonna lie. I used to watch Wendy Williams' show many years ago, and she dropped it in 2008. So wherever I was and whatever I was doing in 2008 and I don't know how long after that, I can't say I watched it for years and years, but I know I watched it for an extended amount of time. Why did I watch her show? She was a beautiful Black woman. She had diamonds, and I like diamonds. I like nice jewelry. I like diamonds. She had diamonds. And I liked the way she was presenting herself on her show. When I first started watching it, she had a strong viewpoint about the people that she was bringing up. And certain angles, let me just be clear, certain angles she would hit to raise a level of awareness. So that is what really made me want to watch her show. Was I fond of the gossip news? Not really. I'm not really fond of it now, but I like to learn certain things, about people and celebrities and entertainment, in particular, because that's the area that I'm in. And these people have gained a level of prominence, and many of us, look up to them, and because they have acquired a certain level of success in an area that we find interest in. Let's be clear. I don't put people on pedestal, because I know that that's just who we are as human beings. We're people. And God is the only entity that has that authority in my life. However, when we put people on these pedestals, it's not a good thing. It really is not a good thing. The angle that I really want to take this video is, are you praying for her? Those of us that liked her show, those of us that admired her as a person, what are you doing for her? Are you gossiping? Are you, glad of her downfall? I mean, how are you presenting when it comes to her? What words are you speaking? And many people may not have agreed with how she reported the news. But one thing I can say is that what I find is that, and research also supports, people who know what they want to be as a kid and they follow in those footsteps, they are some of the most successful people in the world, because they had an idea, they locked in on it, they knew what they wanted to do, and they did it. So let's dive into this. But I want to think about, if you haven't seen her documentary, it's worth going to look at. It really is. It's worth going to look at, and we're going to talk about it. Let's go.
From 6 years old, all I wanted was to be famous.
A lifetime two-night documentary event.
Showtime.
Executive produced by Wendy Williams.
The boss is walking.
Look at that dress.
Nobody can do it like Wendy. No one.
People love Wendy. You are a star.
She was in her living room.
Ooh, look at that bling, y'all. I'm sorry.
12
Look at that
years.
bling. I love it.
That's what people responded to, her authenticity. And then at the peak of her career, she was gone.
Are we ready?
Yeah, waiting on you.
All right. And away we go.
Love you, Wendy.
All I know is how to be famous.
I just want to say this video is for educational purposes only. It really is to raise a level of awareness when it comes to mental illness, for health, when it comes to physical and well-being of your body. Also about the abuse of drugs and alcohol and how it deteriorates your mind, body, and spirit. So this is truly for educational purposes only, and to raise a level of awareness.
I really want to be back on television.
You're gonna be back on TV. That's easy.
My mom has done a great job making it seem like everything is okay always.
Wendy, make sure you look here. 1, 2, 3.
But in reality, there's something wrong going on.
Did you see a neurologist?
To find out if I'm crazy? Oh my God, no, I can't do this. I can't do this. I have to sit down again.
She was put in front of a judge and given a guardian. That was when they took her away from us.
I have no money, and I'm gonna tell you something. If it happens to me, it could happen to you.
As her family, we were all sitting on the sidelines watching, and she was crying out for help.
Did you drink this whole thing today?
Keep it there.
Okay.
Keep it there.
My mom, she always talks about how she wants to work. But I feel as though she's worked enough.
She has people around who are yes people and allowing this to continue.
This is all too much. Go! Drive! I have no idea where we are. This doesn't look like anything familiar.
I think she's losing memory. Have you guys noticed that?
How dare him? I control me.
I weigh 138.
And I'm just going to say that if you really were an admirer of her and you still admire her for being a human being and, you know, the level of success she had based off of, you know, media, because she was still a reporter, media. And it's going to make you a little sad. It made me sad. You know, I still am saddened by it. And I am truly praying for her turnaround and that she's going to find Jesus, most definitely. But, you know, and I still feel, you know, when I see this, I feel sad.
Anybody could look at her and tell this is not just alcohol. There's something more going on.
It is.
I miss my family.
I'll be there.
No matter how many times somebody may fall down, you gotta lift them back up.
We all make choices in life. We all go through our challenges. She's still a person.
She is.
That's my sister.
There have been random people around you
Stealing money from me.
getting money, whatever the case may be.
Enough.
Can you tell me where your sister is?
No, I don't know the exact location of where she is.
I feel like the guardian has not done a good job of protecting my mom.
My life. My life.
Right now, she's weak and vulnerable, and she needs to be around people who aren't going to take advantage of that.
I have no friends.
You know how many people come out to support you? You know how many people love you?
No, I don't.
Everything is going good.
I know. I think that the guardianship system is broken. We are her family, and you tell me that I'm not capable of taking care of my sister. What would you do? What should I do?
I love being famous, but family is everything. So good to see you again, Dad.
It's good to see you, babe.
Everything.
Where is Wendy Williams? A 2-night documentary event premieres Saturday, February 24th at 8, only on Lifetime.
Okay. I didn't realize I was over here deep in thought. Great people. So this is going to be an extended episode. This is episode 2 of the podcast. And this is the vibe that, you know, I want us to kind of chop it up before I go into another video of Dr. Frida's, when I was really just taking my time to find information that I wanted to present to make sure that I was doing my due diligence. I feel like I'm about to cry. I really wanted to make sure that I was finding content for her that was going to represent her in a way, and that's not shaming her, that's not putting her down, but really wanting to uplift her and pray for her and talk about where, you know, and still be truthful about some of the choices that she made that weren't in best reflection of her. Now, I have a parent with dementia. I had 2 parents. My dad passed and he had dementia. My mom, she has it. And I can see the shift in her behavior and attitude and mindset since my dad passed. And that's where the onset of it occurred. COVID hit. She was not able to do her regular routine. And she was in a position where she was pretty much in a house by herself. She had a girlfriend come and stay with her for a short time. But by the time she came, the damage was done. It was starting to already set in. And then she just had a mental breakdown. So I understand how it impacts and it affects others. But I really wanted to make sure I was finding the content and coming from the angle and perspective of, this was a woman that I admired and I still admire. And I love the fact that she still, even though she knows that things have changed for her and things have started to, deteriorate to a certain level, she still wants to get out here and share stories. She wants to have conversations. She still has the courage and the desire to get back in front of the world, even though she knows she's different. And I'm going to say that, we have to take care of ourselves. We have to take care of ourselves in a way that when God blesses us to have fame, when God blesses us to have income, when God blesses us to have money, when much is given, much is required. That's what his word says. We can't be out here abusing ourselves. We see so many famous and rich, wealthy people that don't take good care of themselves. And I feel like it's because many of those people don't have the God and the Christ factor. And there's some that may have had the God and Christ factor, but still didn't allow him to pierce their heart. So they didn't make those decisions that were the best for them to be on top when it comes to their mind, body, and spirit. And that's what happened in her situation. The long hours of entertainers, the long hours of people who are highly successful, they fade the average person when it comes to work ethic, how they have the strenuous sacrifices and things that they put themselves to acquire that level of success, to build a legacy and leave a legacy for their family, to employ people, to provide health insurance, 401ks, to be able to create jobs for people. It's a big, big, big thing. And that's what she was doing. She created jobs for people. Those people that were there on the show were still working for her. They still were there to provide, a culture where she was able to come and shine and shed light on situations, and somewhere along the way it got disconnected, and you saw it. And just for the clip, go back. I just highly recommend people to go and look at the documentary if you admired her, or if you have a curiosity as to how the abuse of drugs and alcohol and not knowing who God and Christ is will impact your life in a negative way. She was able to get off the drugs. However, in the documentary, she was not able to release the alcohol. And the manager, that was the man. He seemed as though he had a temperament. And I was going where I was going with the dementia. It changes your behavior. Now, some of the behavior I feel as though you're still very aware of. And she still had her mind. Yes, she was suffering from, or she had memory loss. So there is some form of memory loss. She wasn't able to remember certain things, throughout the documentary. There were times where she lost memory. She couldn't remember. In regards to temperament, short, patient, and sometimes she would say mean and hurtful things. That's the part that I feel as though should have been addressed. And it seems as though the manager was the one, he had the right temperament, because everyone could not have done what she did. Sometimes she would be very harsh with her words and tone, and very hurtful to say things intentionally to a person that wasn't welcoming and wasn't becoming. So that is the part where I feel as though she should have been checked on by the person that she was talking to. But that wasn't their personality or their character. And okay. But I still feel as though it doesn't matter who you are, what your pay scale is, what you do in life. That doesn't matter. You're still a human being. And to intentionally hurt a person by saying something very derogatory is uncalled for and unjust. And those seeds that you plant are going to grow. And they're going to come back to you. That is how it works. You reap what you sow. Now, let's discuss some of the health things that's going on with her. And it was over time, the abuse and, the drugs. I don't really understand. I do know that from being in the field that of psychology and mental health, dementia can be hereditary. And there may be other things biologically that cause or bring on dementia. Every person doesn't get dementia. Every person doesn't. However, if it's in your family line, especially with a mom or a dad, then it's a possibility that you could develop signs of dementia as you continue to grow old. Other factors that increase the symptoms and signs of dementia are, your environment, meaning where you live, people that you're around, what stresses you have, activities that you're involved in. Are you abusing your body with, a lot of medications? Are you abusing with a lot of, with drugs, with alcohol? There's several things that could, increase your signs or likelihood of dementia. So we know that is part of what's going on for her. And the age, really, there's been research that suggests, that says that dementia has even started in a woman's 40s. It's not the common thing, but it could even start in your 40s. So we have to, as women, still pay attention and zoom in to how we're taking care of ourselves and how we're treating ourselves. But I want to tap into Dr. Frida's video and hear what she's saying in regards to what happened to Wendy Williams' behavior. Because all I can say is she had the right people around her, boo. Okay, she really did in regards to the mentor. The manager. His temperament was like A1. His temperament was A1. Because he was able to deal with her the way and not just tiptoe around it. There were some other people that were on her team that just didn't feel the need to say anything. And I guess it was still, good for her. Because somebody else whose personality doesn't tolerate that, regardless of your situation, because you still are aware enough to sit there and have this interview, to get your makeup done, to get your hair done, your nails painted, and you're going to be mean and ugly. No, ma'am, that's unacceptable. And I'm going to check you on it. That's right. Unacceptable. In love, though. In love, in love, in love, in love. Hold up, Dr. Frida. Okay, let's do this. What happened to Wendy Williams' behavior? Breaking down frontal temporal dementia.
This 6-part. Welcome to part 3 of this 6-part daily series, Wendy Williams Health, breaking down
this is
the
part
illnesses.
3.
Be sure to subscribe to my channel.
If you want to go and see the other parts, check out Dr. Frida's channel. I have subscribed. I'm definitely going to dive in deeper to other content that she has on there. I like the way she presents and everything. So go and check out Dr. Frida's channel. Thank you for this information, Dr. Frida.
And hit that notification bell so you'll be among the first to know when I release my next video. I'm Dr. Frida. I'm a medical doctor who is triple board certified. No, I am not Wendy Williams' doctor, and I am not privy to any more of her health information than the general public. But I do know a lot about medicine. So please go ahead and hit that like button, because I'm going to share what I know about frontal temporal dementia with you right now. This is part 3, frontal temporal dementia. So a couple of days before Wendy Williams' docuseries was released, Where is Wendy Williams?, her team shared that she had a diagnosis of frontotemporal dementia and primary progressive aphasia. In the actual docuseries, however, we learned that previously her son had been told that she had alcohol-induced dementia. Make sure you watch part 2 of this series where I break down alcohol-induced dementia. So now let's talk about frontotemporal dementia and discuss whether or not Wendy Williams is displaying any signs or symptoms of it. Frontotemporal dementia is a form of dementia that occurs when neurons or nerve cells degenerate or stop working in the frontal lobe and in the temporal lobes. We normally think of dementia in people who are quite old, very mature, advanced in age. But in frontotemporal dementia, patients tend to be diagnosed at earlier ages. In fact, it's common for symptoms to occur between ages 40 and 65. Actor Bruce Willis was actually diagnosed with frontotemporal dementia in his 60s.
I heard that recently. Okay, go Snappa, go girl. You remember some of this stuff from Master School, honey? Let's get it. Okay. I'm sorry, guys. I was just like, yes. Research is everything. Let's go. Come on.
About 1.2 to 1.8 million people have the diagnosis of frontotemporal dementia worldwide. So let's talk about the frontal lobe and the temporal lobes and how they function in our brains. Your frontal lobe, which is located right here behind your forehead, is responsible for higher level executive functioning, your behavior, personality, some movements, your judgment, impulse control. Your temporal lobes are located on the sides of your brain, like above your ear. And the temporal lobes are responsible for storing and retrieving memories, for understanding language, for processing. So you can imagine if you have frontotemporal dementia and you have a degeneration of neurons in these frontal and temporal lobes, it can affect some of these processes. Here are some of the symptoms of frontotemporal dementia, or FTD. Loss of inhibition. If you're someone who used to be more of a conservative dresser, you might let it all hang out. You want everything low cut, high, whatever, tight. You may also have a loss of impulse control, where you say things that you normally would not have said, but you go ahead and blurt them out. You may have a loss of
I saw
empathy.
that.
Other symptoms may include apathy, where you have just a lack of interest, and this can be
So that's what I was talking about in regards to what she would say and her inability to refrain from saying those things. And I think her level of awareness should have been raised from the people who she was talking to. Like I said, in love. And when I say check a person, I mean, okay, I'm going to go ahead and let's have this. It may be a little uncomfortable conversation where I'm going to let you know either you offended me, I don't like how you're talking to me, or whatever the situation is, I'm going to address it in that moment. Many people don't feel comfortable doing that, but I do. Regardless of your role, your position, what you do, whether it's in that moment in front of somebody else, or whether it's I'm saying, okay, let's go over here and have this conversation for a minute. You know, regardless, the people that she said that to did not feel comfortable or just didn't say anything about it. But that is the problem. That one thing that I was like, if she was not in this position, would she have said something? She may have said it, but I just feel like it could have been, and it would have been so different of how she said it.
Mistaken for depression. You can lose regard for personal space, where you may have been a person who normally gave other people their distance, but now you're all up in their faces. You may be doing inappropriate touching. You can also become hypersexual. You can lose your executive functioning, your ability to plan your daily schedule, your ability to fill out an envelope properly or a form properly. You can also have some psychological problems like psychosis, anxiety, depression, and then
all of what she was
language
having
can be affected. Now, there are some subtypes of frontotemporal dementia. One of them is primary progressive aphasia, which is what Wendy Williams' team says that she also has. And you'll notice during the documentary, even though we know that Wendy Williams is a wordsmith and she has made her living off of her mastery of the English language, there were times where she was hesitant in her speech, or instead of using a nice, fluent sentence, she might just use 2 or 3 words to express herself, maybe very simple words. Some patients with frontotemporal dementia can also have physical symptoms where they get poor balance, muscle weakness, muscle spasms, rigidity. As far as the causes of FTD, there really is no definitive cause. There have been some studies to suggest that there can be a genetic factor, like if you have a family history of FTD or other dementias, you could be at a higher risk. And there could be a genetic component, either inherited or a spontaneous mutation. But honestly, we really have not pinpointed a cause. As far as risk factors, interestingly, in addition to having a family history of frontotemporal dementia, having a previous head trauma has been cited as a potential risk factor, and having thyroid disease. According to one study, patients with thyroid disease are 2.5 times more likely to develop frontotemporal dementia.
Wow.
And we know that Wendy Williams has thyroid disease. She has Graves' disease. And you can see signs of her thyroid disease in the docuseries. One being the exophthalmos, which is the bulging eyes. So that's an interesting connection. As far as treatment, there's no cure. There are various treatments and managements that can help some of the symptoms to get better. You know, you can manage with a neuropsychologist, with counseling. You can use a physical therapist, things of that nature. But there's no definitive cure for frontotemporal dementia. Now, I want to compare and contrast alcohol-induced dementia to frontotemporal dementia because, of course, again, I'm not Wendy Williams' doctor. I don't know her definitive diagnosis, but we have been told 2 different things as far as what her diagnosis is. Be sure to watch my YouTube video on Dementia Explained after you finish watching this video.
That one out.
There's a lot of overlap In both frontotemporal dementia and alcohol-induced dementia, the frontal lobes are affected. And so that loss of inhibition and some of those other symptoms in the frontal lobe, you can see them in both. Also, the irritability, the anxiety, those things you can see in both. The young age at diagnosis, in both. Here is one major difference. The cause of frontotemporal dementia is not known. The cause of alcohol-induced dementia, of course, is alcohol use. And depending upon the time when the alcohol-induced dementia is diagnosed, if you stop the alcohol, there's a potential of reversal of some of the symptoms. With frontotemporal dementia, it's not the same thing. It's progressive. Also, in some forms of alcohol-induced dementia, specifically that Wernicke-Korsakoff syndrome, if you replete that vitamin B1, that thiamine, that can also help with some of the symptoms. The same is not true for frontotemporal dementia. If you suspect that a loved one has frontotemporal dementia, please be sure to consult your physician immediately. Remember, be sure to subscribe to my channel because tomorrow I'll be talking about part 4, aphasia. I'm Dr. Frida. Be sure to like and to share this video.
Okay, great people. So just as I was saying about some of those symptoms, we're going to go on to the next one where she is talking about the drugs and the addiction. But before I get into that, I just wanted to say, you know, so many of the behaviors that we were having in our discussion was some of the symptoms of dementia. And as I was saying before, I definitely noticed the irritability in my mom, how, well, she also suffers from depression, and she did mention, you know, depression and anxiety also possibly being symptoms of dementia. But I definitely see the depression and symptoms of depression, and knowing about that just for myself is that irritability is a symptom of depression. So, and we see that in the documentary, you could see some of her irritability and her lack of patience. But so it was good to hear this from a medical expert really explain and break this down. And even as young as 40, that's really young, okay? 40 is, I know it ain't 25. I know it ain't for my sisters who are in their early 30s. I know it's not you girls. However, it is something that based off of even, and she said genetic predisposition or not. And it's just something to continuously take care of ourselves in a way that is going to allow us to be healthier as we grow old and age. I want to live to be as old as my grandmama who was 100. I would like to be 120. Okay, maybe not. 105, 102, 103. But I'm just saying the life that I live now and in my 20s, 30s, you know, it was like I think about that. I think about, you know, I want to be able to be old and not have a cane. I don't want to have a walker. I want to be able to, I might be a little bit slower, boo. But I still want to be able to have a gait where I am able to stand upright. And that is how I live my life now, how I lived my life. And I know, you know, many of us, we like to, you know, enjoy our 20s. I get it, but just be mindful in your 20s, boo. You still hopefully going to be old. Hopefully God's going to grant you one of the rewards of living, and that's being an old person, a senior citizen. Okay, what happened to Wendy Williams, drug and addiction? And I want us to really zoom in to this. Wow.
To part 6 of this 6-part series.
Part 6, guys.
Wendy Williams Health, breaking down the illnesses. If you have not subscribed to my channel, I don't know what you're waiting for. Please subscribe.
Go
Join
subscribe.
the party. We're up to almost 700,000
I got to follow her on Instagram too, because I'm not following her.
We
Let me do
give
this right now.
evidence-based medical information, and we still manage to have fun.
Let's go.
Even when the topics aren't always funny. So come on, join us. And hit that notification
Evidence-based,
bell,
that's research.
So you'll
That's
be
people who
among the
actually
first
have
to know
facts.
when I release new videos.
Let me stop this real quick.
I'm
Let me
Dr.
stop this
Frida.
real quick.
I'm an MD who is...
I had to say that. Evidence-based is people who do the research, who have the facts to support their claims. I love doing research, guys. However, not the people that's just going to give you what they think, their opinion, their auntie, cousin, friend, brother said. We ain't on that, okay? We on solid facts, reputable research, empirical evidence. Let's go, Dr. Frida.
triple board certified. I am not
triple
Wendy Williams
board
doctor, and I
certified.
am not privy to any more of her information than the general public.
Frida on
but I do know
Instagram.
quite a bit about
Let's see.
medicine, and I love sharing what I know with you, which is what I'm about to do right now
Here she go.
in part 6.
Let's go.
What is addiction? I'm addicted to you. I'm addicted to... I don't know why I keep doing that. If you've been watching the docuseries, Where is Wendy Williams? You see that her addictions keep coming up. Now, way prior to this docuseries, Wendy Williams, in her best state of mind, has been open about her struggles with addiction. She shared that she has a history of cocaine addiction. She said that she has used marijuana. She didn't necessarily state that she was addicted to that, but people can get addicted to marijuana. I don't care if it's legal. It still has addictive potential.
It does. It does.
And in the docuseries, we learn that she does have an alcohol addiction. So let's break it down. What is addiction? Addiction is when you can't control yourself or stop yourself from using something or doing something or taking something, even if you know it can be detrimental to your health or cause harm. It's a compulsive seeking and taking or using something, or a compulsive need to do a behavior, even if you know good and well that it's not good for you and you can see clearly, logically, the consequences. It may cause consequences to your physical health, your mental health, your financial well-being, to relationships, but you just can't control the impulse. Now, here's the thing. People used to think that if you had an addiction, it was just a sign of weakness. You didn't have the willpower. It was your fault.
It's bigger than
But
that.
now we know that's all wrong. Addiction is actually a disease. Yes, it's a brain disorder. There's a physiology behind it. And some people actually have a genetic predisposition. Am I making excuses? No. But do I have to make excuses for someone who gets cancer or multiple sclerosis or diabetes, or if they have a stroke? No, I don't have to make an excuse for a disease. Addiction is a disease. It's a brain disorder. So let's talk about it. There are 2 main groups of addiction: substance use, like if you're using alcohol, or behavior, like if you have a gambling addiction. And all forms of addiction are tied to the reward pathway. So this is how it works.
That dopamine.
In the reward pathway, if you perform a good behavior, if you do something that promotes your survival or well-being, you'll have a release of dopamine from your brain, and it makes you feel good. So if someone compliments you, or if you accomplish something really great, you run a marathon, it feels good. And you have some dopamine release, okay? That's good, right? So here's what happens with certain substances, drugs, for example, like cocaine or cigarettes or alcohol. When you take these substances, they also release dopamine from that reward pathway. The thing is, they release much more dopamine than you can ever release from the natural reward pathway. You can't compete. So once you use a drug...
So that's why, research supports the fact that cocaine, I'm sorry, not cocaine, scratch that. It talks about crack, and we know there was a time where a lot of people were addicted to crack, and that was because that first time they did it, it gave them that high that it was just irreplaceable, and they continue to go back to try to get that same high. But the reward center is just like on fire. Those neurotransmitters, that dopamine, is just what she's saying, and it just made me think about that. That is why so many people were able to. Were addicted to crack, and now the newest drug is the fentanyl. So I'm probably wondering, and I'm thinking that the fentanyl is doing the same thing. I'm not a medical professional. My area of expertise is in developmental psychology and mass media arts, with a concentration in print and journalism. Let's be clear. However, this is spot on. So I just really wanted to say that we have to understand when we start doing these things, what's really attracting us is brain related. It's not that your body is, and later your body gets into it where it requires more, but it's brain related. So that's why it's much harder for people to stop, because it is brain related. Come on, Dr. Frida. I love it.
And you get all of this dopamine release. Well, guess what? You might want it again. So to get it again, you have to use the drug or drink the alcohol again. And you get more of this dopamine. You're feeling good reward. Well, after a while, your neurological system, your brain says, wait a minute, this is just too much dopamine being released. Let's decrease some of these dopamine receptors, okay? Let's decrease some of our reactivity to the dopamine. And while we're at it, let's decrease some of the amount of dopamine that's released from this 1 or 2 glasses of alcohol. So what happens? You might go back, you drink the same amount of alcohol that you drank before to get the dopamine release. But now your body has gained a tolerance to it. And so what do? You drink more alcohol. So once you drink more alcohol, well, now you may have passed a threshold where it's enough to get all that dopamine again. Okay, you get that good feeling. But after a while, your brain says, let's back up. Let's cut back again on even more of these receptors to the dopamine. This is too much dopamine. Let's cut back on more of the dopamine. So what do? You say, hold up. I want that same feeling. I used to drink 2 glasses of alcohol and that did it. Then 4. Now it's taken 6. Okay, I've got it. And so you've got this cycle of the reward pathway that you're chasing. You have a tolerance. So it takes more and more and more. And while you're taking more and more of a substance, it's causing not only mental health, but physical health problems.
So true.
You're having a difficult time stopping the behavior, even if logically you know that it's harmful to you. This is addiction. It can happen to anyone. You don't have to be a weak person or you're just not built strong enough. No, you can look around at all of the people in possibly your lives who have addiction, people on television, highly intelligent people. It has nothing to do with that. It's a brain disorder. And I say that because I want to make sure that people understand when they're watching Wendy Williams, she's not a weak person. She's dealing with a brain disorder. So just like you wouldn't laugh at someone who had cancer, you wouldn't laugh at someone.
And I'm going to also say when it comes to spiritual, and we're going to talk about this at the end, I truly agree when it comes to the brain part and psychological, because like I said, once again, I've done the research and I truly know about that. I understand it from being in the field of psychology. However, for me, being a believer in Christ, I know how he can thwart that with professional help. Those are the key words, that key phrase. Rewind this and hear what I said clearly. With Christ and professional help, this can be overcome. An addiction. I didn't say dementia. I said an addiction, a drug addiction, a alcohol addiction, a substance abuse addiction. And that's the piece that I feel like Wendy is missing, that spiritual, that God, that Christ, be specific, that Christ factor, not just God, because it's a whole heap of them. And when you say God, many people ain't talking about the God I believe in. So I'm going to say Jesus. When I just haven't heard her speak about Jesus. I haven't heard anybody else in her documentary talk about Jesus. I haven't seen a single solitary soul pray with her or pray for her or said that they prayed for her. So my question to you is, are you praying for her? Are you praying for her? Specifically for her improvement, for the dementia to be slowed down, for her to increase her self-esteem and self-confidence, and for God to put people in her life that are going to give it to her with love and let her know the real facts and truth. And that is going to bring Christ in her life so she can overcome this, because she can overcome certain things about her illness. The lymphedema, Jesus is a healer, let's be clear. And my prophet put his hands on her. I'm telling you, some things would truly change, and I'm just being real about that. However, is there somebody in her life who has introduced Christ to her?
Who had a stroke, you don't laugh or toot your nose up at someone who's living with addiction. And I've actually seen a lot of positive feedback. I find that more people than not are more sympathetic and empathetic toward Wendy.
I'm glad.
I've heard some people say, it's karma, because Wendy
seen
talks
that
about
too.
People all the time. Karma what?
Thank you, Dr. Frida.
Who's perfect?
Thank you, Dr.
I just love
Frida.
how all these people are casting stones as if they have no faults themselves. Anyway, back to the subject.
Come on, Dr. Frida.
Addiction is rather common. Approximately 20 million people in the United States have a substance use disorder. So yes, there are two types of addiction, as I mentioned, the substance use and the behavioral. So let's talk about the substance. It can be any type of a drug, be it prescription or not prescription. It can be any kind of a substance, really, even if it's something that's not meant to be a drug, like glue. Alcohol is the most common substance use disorder in the United States, followed by nicotine and marijuana.
Okay.
Some other substances that can cause addiction or substance use disorder include cocaine, crack.
I told you about the crack.
Do y'all remember that? Do y'all remember when Wendy Williams and Whitney Houston had it out because Wendy was all up in Whitney's
She was
business.
calling her out.
Whitney cussed her out. Okay, but anyway.
But Wendy didn't care.
Yeah, crack is one of the things that can cause addiction.
Yes.
Also, heroin, methamphetamines, prescription drugs like Percocet, Molly Percocet. Yeah, Molly as well, ecstasy. Ooh, y'all, make sure you watch my YouTube video on what is Molly after you finish watching this video. What else? Caffeine. Oh yeah, caffeine is actually a drug. It's really the most commonly used drug.
Y'all, and I know y'all have heard and seen, and even if you follow us on Snappa and Snappa, where I absolutely, don't judge me, don't judge me, love coffee. I like the smell of coffee, and it does something to my endorphins when I smell a fresh brew coffee smelling. It just brings me to a happy place. It does. It's like all I see is the sunrise and clouds. I see flowers. I mean, really, it does. I mean, beautiful spring morning, crisp Cali weather, palm trees. Take me to the beach. I'm just saying. That's what coffee does to me. But I have it just about every morning. And I was doing it with Celsius. But God said, you trying to be 105? You can't do that. So, but I love, and I know Celsius also has a little caffeine plus the B12 vitamins in it. But I just had to say that. Coffee, and it can be, I mean, I like it. And when I didn't do it, I've done fast and cleansings without it. That makes you like, should I be doing this? Because the withdrawal is insane. But I love coffee. I don't know what to say about that.
In the world, caffeine can cause addiction. Do you ever get a headache when you don't use caffeine?
Yes, coffee, I do.
Barbiturates, benzodiazepines, things like Xanax,
hallucinogens,
LSD, PCP, vapes.
No thanks.
Yes, vaping can be addictive. We know that Wendy had Sean and the driver driving all around trying to find her
that scene
vapes.
was really, really.
And then she got confused because she forgot that the vape shop really was the vape shop.
Was
anyway, yes, vaping
emotional.
can be addictive. So that's substance use disorders. The other group, behavior. Yes, they're behavioral addictions. And I want y'all to listen because this is about to hit home.
This is good.
For a lot of people.
This is real
Here are
good.
some of the behaviors that can cause addiction. Gambling, eating, shopping. Yeah, being a shopaholic is not just a joke. Shopping can be addictive.
Yeah.
Shoplifting. Haven't you ever heard of people who have the means, they have money, and then they steal stuff? Silly
I've heard
stuff,
of that.
little stuff, pack of gum,
that.
something they can afford. Gaming. Hello, any parents?
Rich
being
people.
On those game
I've
systems,
heard it where rich people have
stolen. Your
stolen.
child's game or whatever kind of gaming system away, and the child acts like he's going to have a complete fit, and he falls out like a fainting goat.
Boy, you got to the count of 0.
The behavior of sex can be addictive. Yeah, that's a real thing. Sex
heard about
addiction.
that one too.
And using the internet can be addictive. Using your smartphone. Are you someone who can't go 2 seconds without grabbing your phone and seeing what's going on and seeing how many likes you have or how many? Yeah. Reward pathway. Yeah. That can be an addictive behavior.
Wow.
Comment below if any of these potential addictions I mentioned surprised you. Some signs or symptoms that you may be addicted to something would be if you have the inability to stop, even if you tell yourself, okay, I'm not going to do it, you go ahead and do it. If you become preoccupied with it, you're always thinking about it. You're always kind of planning or seeking how you can get to the substance or do the behavior.
Zoom into this, good people.
Guilty.
Give yourself
and
this
if
test.
You're also changing your behavior with your loved ones. If you're lying to them or if you're trying to hide the behavior, if there's shame around the behavior.
Wow.
These could be some hints that you have an addiction. If you feel a loss of control. So if you suspect that you have an addiction or if you suspect a loved one has an addiction, you definitely want to consult your primary care physician, also your mental health provider, or even a substance abuse specialty clinic or program. If you're someone who suspects that a loved one has an addiction, please make sure you're not judgmental. Make
That's
sure you go
right.
in with empathy. And if you're trying to stop someone from using a substance, alcohol, for example, be careful because you really may need professional help. If someone has had a chronic or long-term use of alcohol and you just stop it cold turkey, you can cause some life-threatening withdrawal symptoms. You can lead them to go into delirium tremens, which those are a set of symptoms that usually will kick in about 2 to 5 days after you stop cold. Someone who's had chronic heavy use of alcohol, and they can have a heart attack, they can have a stroke, they can even die.
Wow. Did not
Okay.
know
Some other
that.
withdrawal symptoms from alcohol include fast heart rate or tachycardia, fever. You can get the shakes, a tremor, seizures, nausea, vomiting. Same thing with heroin. Okay. Some of the narcotics. If you are stopping the heroin all of a sudden, or you're stopping the narcotic, you'll need professional help because it can cause medical issues. Some of the opioid or heroin withdrawal symptoms include diarrhea, dilated pupils. You can get fever, you can get nausea, vomiting. Certainly you can get anxiety. You can get really fast breathing or tachypnea. It's a medical issue. So make sure you don't just do it alone if you're going to stop cold. You can have inpatient treatment. They have sober houses. There's all kinds of help available. And then
Right.
there's AA or Alcoholics Anonymous, as well as NA, Narcotics Anonymous. And there's something called Al-Anon. Bottom line, I just want to drive home the point that addiction is a disease. It is a chronic brain disorder. It should be taken seriously. Certainly, it's not to be laughed at. It's
That's
not to be
right.
judged. And it sounds like, according to what we heard in the docuseries, that Wendy Williams is getting the help. And so I'm wishing her the best, wishing her all of the physical and mental health, all of the love, the support, and that she's actually around people who care for her and who have her best interest. If you found this information to
Okay,
be
good
helpful
people.
and informative, please be sure.
So, okay, great. So, with that, I hope that you were able to really get some information about addictions, about dementia, about drug abuse, and how it impacts our mind, how it impacts our body. And I'm telling you how it impacts our spirit. And I really like Dr. Frida. She did a superb job of giving us the medical expert information that we needed. I love the way she explained it. She explained it in ways and words and terminology that, anyone should be able to understand. A 5th, 8th grader, 10th grader can understand the terminology that she was using. And she did it with love. She did it with love. She was not trying to attack Wendy Williams. She was not trying to bring her down or defame her character. She was simply doing it from a place of love. She raising the level of awareness as well as a cry, for help to say, this is something that could happen to anyone if these things happen. Now, when it comes to dementia, we know that there is no underlying cause. That's what she mentioned, and other research supports that. There is no one thing, and they don't know truly what causes dementia. However, when it comes to drug addiction, alcohol, or substance abuse, she truly gave some specifics as to what leads up and what causes to that. So if you are struggling and you were able to answer those questions and were like some of those questions that she said, she asked, you said yes to many of them, then it's time to turn the table around, to turn the arrow around and look at yourself so you can have a great 2024 and long life. Now, wrapping up this episode of Snappa Speaks podcast, I want us to pray for her. I really, really want us to pray for her health, her mental health, that she is going to continue to get the help that she needs. And she's going to have more people around her that are going to give her the information, who are going to tell her in a loving way and support her through this journey. But also, be real with her. Let her know that drinking continuously is not an outlet that's going to help her be well, especially internally, spiritually, or physically. We know that. So I encourage you that if you ever watched her show, if you were a true fan, if you still go back and look at the episodes, I didn't know the episodes were out there, but just to, make a lighter I don't know what the word is, just to make it, I guess, light on my heart about the situation. I may go back and look at one or two of the episodes on YouTube just to add, smiles to my face, because it's really been heavy on my heart. But I've been praying for her to be better. I've been praying for her to get through this, and praying that she has people around her that are going to tell her the truth, that are going to be kind to her, and help her get through this. So I didn't know I didn't see the episode with China White in there. China White. China Black. I didn't see Black China. I didn't see the episode with her. So maybe there's an episode that I've missed, but I would like to see it. And I like the fact that she was there hugging her, wanting to be a friend, wanting to be someone, to just show her support, to let her know, you're going to get through this, girl. You got this. And that's what she needs. Hopefully she's able to make amends with her family. Hopefully she's able to get around them. And I was just wondering, she has the guardian that's overseeing her finances. So if she wanted to have more control or have someone else that she knows to manage the finances, why doesn't she get an attorney or a lawyer? I don't know. I didn't see that come up in the documentary. I haven't seen anyone else talk about it. But I was just thinking, if she's not able to access her money and it's been appointed a guardian by Wells Fargo, then shouldn't she be able to get a lawyer to help take Wells Fargo to court? Because I know that's the bank that is housing your money, but we have the option and the freedom in America to withdraw our money from a financial institution and put it in another one. And I know they felt like they were doing the best, but I saw in this video where some of the in this, I don't even remember seeing that part of the documentary where the guardian who was appointed, or the judge that appointed the guardian, was in question, or there was something there that may have needed to be looked into further. So, but I was just thinking, okay, wait a minute. All of a sudden they're just gonna, stop these transactions, and you got to look at the documentary. I'm not gonna say any further, but I guess they felt like they were doing what they thought was their best interest at heart. However, I was just wondering, why doesn't she get a lawyer to help go up against Wells Fargo to say, hey, appreciate y'all trying to help me out, but I want this person. I trust this person to manage my finances, especially if this person has not shown any signs of mishandling, of mistrust, or of stealing or theft or anything. So let's get in the comment section. I really want to know, how you feel. If you have been a Wendy Williams supporter, what do you think about the health, her health deteriorating? And I know I saw a couple of videos too where, people were saying, oh, the karma, just like Dr. Frida said. But, as she said, you without saying, cast the first stone, please. That's not the time to say those types of things. When a person is down, we don't want to drag the person. We want to be that conduit for change. We want to be able to plant those seeds and speak life so it can be heard, and she can catch those waves, and God will hear the prayers to help put that person in her life, to bring Christ to her. Maybe Christ has already been brought to her and she has just walked away, or she isn't calling upon him. Nevertheless, I do know from experiences and going through things in life and not making the best choices that brought me to the highest level of myself and wasn't operating at who Christ was in me, to know that when you don't know him, or when you don't activate him, when you don't, have that connection in that relationship, and you don't pay attention, those things, your life suffers. So yes. All right, great people. Let's get in the comment section. And I want to talk about this. And, if you've experienced hardships in life, if you've had any addictions or any issues or any problems, what have you done to get the help you need? Did you seek counseling? Did you see a therapist? Are you a believer? Did you rely on Christ to pull you out with professional help or without professional help? Some people may be able to come up without getting counseling. They rely on, Christ and other motivational videos. And I guess that could be your own counseling. If you're listening to motivational videos, you're listening to E.T., that Eric Thomas, one of my mentors. You're listening to a Renetta Brown. You're listening to Anita Powell, Jen Rowan, Stormy Wellington. I can keep going on. Les Brown, Lewis Howes, and the list goes on. These people are implanting things out there, and we use them to build ourselves up. So if you have not got the professional help, but you still rely on videos, that's still like a form of therapy. So you still need the support of others. All right, great people. Get into the comment section. Let's chop it up. Let's pray for Wendy's comeback. I would love to see a podcast. I would love to hear and see, how she would come with things now, today, and what the storylines would be. It could be about her life. I'm interested. I just would love to see her doing what she's always wanted to do, because she was great at what she did, y'all. She really was. All right. See you on the next episode. This is episode 2. I'm really, really feeling the podcast. How y'all feel about my little background? We changing up the scene. We are changing it up. That's what it's about. Loving yourself, thinking for yourself, and growing yourself. See you in the next episode.